turn off your camera so we're not all jealous. I know somebody wanted to ask me a question, and unless it has to do with, I can't see a picture or something, I really need to use this time. Make sure that you guys are muted. And as you saw on the,
it was me that wanted to ask you a question. This is Janice.
is that Janice?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a couple people with their microphones turned on, and okay, go ahead, but I don't want to regret it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you had called on me yesterday, and when I went to ask my question, it wouldn't unmute, and it said that my microphone wasn't recognized.
Great question, actually. Thank you for that. So if you are having trouble with your camera or microphone, or your students are, there's two things. One, I showed you, I think yesterday, that you could go down to those three little dots and play with, and everyone can tap on those right now, and play under settings and check and see if maybe you need to turn something on or off. Just fiddle with those. The most likely problem, though, I gotta tell you, is up in the URL bar at the very top. You guys will see where it says meet.google.com / along that same box, you probably see a little image of a camera, a video camera. If yours has an X in it, that means that something is blocked. Either your microphone or your camera or both are blocked. If it does not have an X, but you're having trouble, not going to hurt to tap on it. So tap on that tiny little, teeny tiny little camera and see if there's something you can change by choosing a different microphone or a different camera. This is going to be true for yourselves and your students. I had a call today from somebody whose parent just insisted it was, our fault, and it always is, but he had never approved a camera or microphone the very, very first time his tiny one went to go use the product. And so he'd block the camera and microphone every single time. So at least he was consistent, and we got to solve that problem. So today is, oh, there's the camera. Today is Wednesday, the 29th of July, and this is our Google Classroom 201 class. And again, just a little housekeeping. First of all, we had 172 people yesterday, and the recording didn't turn out, but I redid it. I just sort of relived the moment. It wasn't nearly as fun this morning, but I relived it, recorded it, and it's posted just half hour ago or so in our Google Classroom that we all share. And it's posted in the new EdTech Distance Classroom resource website that I keep hyping. Anyway, it was a good day. There was a lot of stuff to cover. I had to talk pretty fast. I think today you're going to really enjoy seeing what you've asked for. I'm already recording it, and I'm not going to be stopping for questions today. I think that's kind of how we ran long yesterday. We do have the lovely Angela Milverstead in the chat room, though, and I appreciate her help and support. She's going to answer as many as she can, but there is just no guarantee, friends. So if you ask a question and she skips you, or you ask a question and it just never gets answered, it just is what it is. You will hopefully never have 175 people on your Google Meets, but if she doesn't get to answer your question, please do me a favor and post that question on our stream page. That's the home page in our shared Google Classroom, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday classroom. And that way everyone can benefit from that. If at any point, Angela, I'm giving you permission. I don't know if she can see me. If at any point you notice that the recording stops, like that little button disappears, tell the chat room, and then Angela has permission to just ring my cell phone, and I'll start it back up again so we don't have what happened yesterday.
Hold on, Kim, really quick. It's Angela.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I hit record again, then it actually goes into your file again.
Yeah, it should. You're actually right. Yeah, you can probably do that
yesterday.
Okay, so just tell Angela it's not recording. You're right. Yeah, that should work. You're absolutely right. Anyway, so by popular demand, this Google Classroom 201 takes everything a step further. It assumes that you've already been working with Google Classroom to some degree. And if not, it assumes that you don't mind seeing things for the first time, with the assumption that you will know how to maybe use them. We're going to cover a bunch of stuff. But when I say by popular demand, we took all those things that you guys put in the Google form last week, and I just sort of tried to group them all together. And something we saw a lot of was people wanting to see different kinds of assignments What do the students see when they see these assignments, and how do they respond? How do I give feedback? How do I score? How do students find out that I gave them a score? How do I return those papers? In addition, people wanted to see how to move scores from Google Classroom into their Aries gradebook, which I can't technically do, but I'm going to take you through it. And then there's a couple of spots where I don't know if you know they exist. I'm going to show you that'll help you organize your work and help your kids kind of stay on top of theirs. If we have time, and I don't know that we will, but if we have time, I'd love to show you kind of the hierarchy of folders and files that Google creates for you in this true integration between Google Classroom and Google Drive. So we are going to get started right now with me sharing my screen. And thank you, everyone, for having your mute buttons pressed. All right, sharing my entire screen, which is the option I choose most frequently. And I'll let you know when I think yep, there we go. All right, fantastic. All right. Are there any, I've already asked that question. I'm going to skip that question. There are several Google Classrooms here. You may ignore the fact that I have 5 Google Classrooms named James. This is the one we're going to work with today. This is the one where you're going to see stuff. This is not our shared Google Classroom. This one literally has some students in it, some assignments in it, some student responses in it. So you're experiencing this during the webinar, but you will not be able to access this after. Okay. Can hear mute coming off. Okay, so I tap to open. This again is our stream page, which we've tried to point out as often as possible. The stream page is their home page. The most recent things are posted at the top. The due dates for upcoming assignments or events are over here, and your students see something that looks just like this. In a few minutes, we're going to go into a student's account and see how much it looks exactly like mine. All right. If I go into classwork, I've already created several assignments. What I'd like to do is kind of review with you the kinds of assignments and then show you immediately what the assignment looks like to me and to a student. Okay. So to create an assignment, there are many different kinds of assignments. We did this in our 101 class last Tuesday, so I'm not going to relive that. I'm going to tap on material, and the material has no deadline. It's just a material. It does not have anything a kid has to do with it, and you can compose whatever you want. Again, we talked about it last Tuesday. So if material is new to you, let me know. Don't let me know. Watch last Tuesday's webinar. On my page here, I've already put in a material. It's down here in a topic called materials. If I tap on it, it will open up. Hello. Hello, let me go here. There we go. All right, it'll open up and there's nothing attached to it, but I'm going to show you the student's view over here. Did I already make a mistake? Well, you know what? We don't care about materials right now, do we? I apologize. Let's go to the second type of item here, and that is a question. Questions, again, are assignments. They have the option of either short answer or multiple choice. They have due dates. They have potentially points or ungraded. Let's see what the questions look like in here. My first question, I know it's a question because it has a question mark in a little clipboard looking thing. This question has been assigned. And as you can see right here, 3 of my students have turned this stuff in. If I'm reviewing work that I've assigned, I usually go into view question. And right here, I can see the 3 students that have turned that in. Now it says 0 assigned because I don't have any students who have joined my class that have not done it. So this is what I like to see. I like to see that nobody has just got it assigned only, and that 3, or the only whole number, is actually turned in. In a little bit, we're going to have another student join, and then you'll see that that student, having not turned it in, will be sitting right here. So my 3 students have answered the question, and this is my teacher's view of their answers. Right here it says student answers, and I can see that one child had grilled cheese for lunch. That's what made her happy today. One got woken up by her puppy, and another one was that she heard a song from Hamilton. So these are turned in. If I look at the question here, I can make a comment here, but that wouldn't make any sense for me to make comments here except to alert my students that everything looks great, you're doing a great job. If I want to make a comment about my students' responses, hold on a second. Go here, I had grilled cheese, and I can make a comment down here at the bottom. It's right, it's a private comment. It's very difficult to see, but I tapped on her turned in. It's hyperlinked. I had grilled cheese, and down here at the bottom, a private comment could be, you know, I love grilled cheese too. This is not a graded assignment, so there's nowhere for me to enter a score. A little question mark is getting in my way. If I want to talk to Lucy, same thing. I love puppies. I can respond to them and give them a little bit of feedback. I'm going to return to my classroom by going here to the word James. It'll take me back to my stream page, go back to classwork. Again, the same thing. If I wanted, instead of to click on view question, I could have gone directly to the answers by tapping on the hyperlinked number of people that turned it in. Or if I have somebody not turn in, I could have tapped that hyperlink and seen who it was that has not turned it in. Again, back to my classwork. Now, I'm going to show you what this looks like for a student. I'm going to show you a couple different ways. And so first, I thought you might enjoy seeing what it looks like before a student joins a classroom. If you invite a student, not if they're rostered, but if you invite a student, if they're rostered, it'll look just like this. If the district rostered classroom is what you're using, they'll just be in it. They won't have to accept. If you invite a student to your Google Classroom, it will just simply say join. And so I'm going to I'm going to be the child who is joining the classroom now. So you'll see what it looks like when somebody has not finished the work. And now Lucas is in my classroom as well. Lucas sees the classwork exactly as I do. This is a student view for somebody who has done no work. So notice that these are all green. They get grayed out when the student does the work. So this is what it looks like before a student has completed any work. If we want to go in, what made you happy today as a student and answer this question, I can tap on it. A student then needs to be encouraged to view the question or view the assignment. This whole page is a single assignment. What made you happy today? Type your answer to the right. Remember last Tuesday, I reminded you that most student work is going to be found in a column to the right. So this is a student's page. This is a student's column to the right. I often will type it on the right, look to the right, click on the link on the right, because I know this is where they're going to see their work when they view the question or view the assignment. So his answer, I'm not going to give you his answer because I want you to see what it looks like when a student has not finished the work. Okay, let me move him out of the way. And I want to show one other student. See if I can find her. That is the parent version. Hold on, I'm coming back. Just have to find the right one. Pardon me. Talk among yourselves for just a second so I can enter the account information. It somehow kicked me out there for a sec. Okay, now this student view will be a student who has already joined my classroom and has answered the question. So if I tap on that as a student, I now have my student hat on and go into classwork. You see how those are all grayed out. She did a lot of work already. What made you happy today? She already answered that. View question. Just like the other gentleman, we can see that she's turned it in. If she wants to talk more about this, she can add a private comment, but this is not her answer. And students sometimes feel like if they can just type freely here, why should they turn in their answer? So you may occasionally have students that confuse the answer area with their private comments. But once it's done, she cannot unsubmit this one. A question response will not let her do that. Now let's go back to our teacher view. Again, what made me happy is just a question. I now have 2 kids who have it assigned but not turned in. These 2 have not answered. And now you can see over here on the left that these 2 do not have a turned in link, but these 3 do. And if I'd like them to know that I received it, I can click them and return their work. That, because it's ungraded, is not going to be a score. It's just going to acknowledge to them that I have seen them return their work. When I do that, they can see any private comment I left, and they can see that's ungraded. But if it were graded, it would then provide them with their score. So be careful when you go to return other things. If this is worth points, when you return it, those points are going to be viewable by them. And they will get a little email telling them that they have had work returned to them. I'm going to go ahead and return that. It only returns work to those who are checked off, and I'm only returning work to the students who have completed it. Now, if you look up here, this has changed. I have 2 kids that have it assigned, but not done. I have no children who have turned it in, but not had it returned to them. I have 3 children that have their work returned. So in sequence, this is the most complete. Less complete. It's not actually in good sequence, but this is the most complete. This is partially complete. I would need to work on it. This means they've just been assigned. I think they should be in sequence. I'm going to go back to my home page, and I want to find my student who had not done the work and have it change for us. Little tour is going to happen every once in a while. What happened? What made you happy today? I'm just going to say my mom. Very complete. Turn in the answer. You'll remember that, and maybe you won't remember, but I'm going to say it over and over again. There was a turn in here, but there was also a pop-up that said turn in. And I put in all my student instructions, click turn in twice. And somebody turned something in. Let's see what changed in my view one last time. Again, we've got 1 who's turned it in but not scored, 1 who's never turned it in but has been assigned, and 3 who have been returned. So this image here takes a little getting used to. I want to go up here. Now I've got something that's been turned in, something assigned and not turned in, and 3 returned. I hope that all makes some sense. I know there's some bopping around because we have different views. I'm going to try to be as clear as I can about whose view we're looking at. Now, at this time, I want to answer a quick question before we go on to the next kind of assignment. There were questions about what students can see or what they get notified about, and I want to go in as a student and look at my settings so you guys can see what the default setting is for students. So all I've done to see the default settings for student is I put on my student hat. And I'm sharing this with you. I know you don't have a student hat. Some of you might have your own children and you can see their assignments, but I think right now this is valuable for everyone to go in with my student hat on, pop open the column on the left by hitting that hamburger and tapping on settings. When we do that, we can see what the default is. This person has not changed her settings at all. She's got everything turned on. She's going to get email notifications whether or not she is in grades TK through 12 is not really noted in here. She will receive notifications on everything. So she will get, first of all, if anybody comments on a post. Well, our students aren't posting in my classroom because I've muted them for a little while. So that doesn't matter. Comments that mention you. If I mention her, if I say, I put the @ sign and her name, it will send her a little email and let her know somebody has mentioned her, and I'll do that another time. Private comments on work. Remember I told her I like grilled cheese too. She would get email about that. She is also going to get emails or notifications basically about work and other posts from teachers. So when I post an announcement or a material or an assignment, she should get a little notification, an email. Returned work. She should just have gotten something about the returned work that I just returned to her from that question. What makes you happy? Invitations to join classes and due date reminders. I don't know the answer to this question, but it occurs to me that due date reminders are not controlled by the teacher. So we need to find out, and I'm writing this down, we need to find out exactly what the protocol is for that. Are they getting that within 24 hours? Are they, what is the due date reminder programming telling it to do? Okay, so this is a student's settings. If you want to take a picture of it so that you know what's there, that's not a bad idea. Or of course, you can always come back in here and look at it. I'm going to tap on that hamburger again in the upper left-hand corner. That hamburger takes me to this column. In my account, I had a whole bunch of stuff. In the student's account, she's only the member of one classroom. And obviously, she's not a teacher in any classroom. So hers is much easier to look at than mine was the other day. I want to review one thing right here where it says to do, enroll classes, to do. This will provide this student with information about what assignment she has coming up and what assignments she has done. It's a great place for kids, especially kids who are in secondary who might have 4 or 5 Google Classrooms posted here, to come up and review what things they have due. This child only belongs to one Google Classroom, so everything is the same color. But if she were in junior high and she had 5 different classes, she would see the assignments with a corresponding color next to it, which indicates which Google Classroom it's talking about. If she had an orange Google Classroom and a purple Google Classroom, the colors along the side of each assignment would correspond with the color of the Google Classroom. We've got due dates, due today at 1, due July 31st, due August 7th, and you'll notice that they're in sequence based upon their due date. If she's looking at this and she sees it's due at 1 o'clock and it's missing, she can go ahead and tap on that and it takes her directly into her work. She was new to our class, so this is a second kind of question assignment, and this is just simply a question that's a multiple choice question. So we'll go ahead and answer it as this student. We'll be discussing chapter 3 tomorrow morning. I didn't say look to the right. Hopefully she's learned that. Choose turn in twice. So yes, have we completed chapter 3? Yes. Turn in once, turn in twice, and now she has answered the second question that was among her to-dos. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, trying to make sure that thing goes away. Up in the upper right-hand corner, this is a summary of student responses. I wouldn't use this for everyone, but I wanted you to see that the summary of student responses is a default. So if you do not want students seeing each other's responses or summaries of responses, then you can uncheck this when you go to create a multiple choice question assignment. Right now, this is fine, but if I were that one kid who hasn't, I might feel kind of crummy. So now I'm going to go back to my view as a teacher. Classwork. We had it under reading. It's a question assignment. Have you completed chapter 3 of Esperanza Rising? I don't mind myself seeing this. I acknowledge I've taken the temperature of my classroom to see if they're ready for our discussion tomorrow. But when I go to make a question assignment next time, if I want to choose to not have that summary at the top, let me show you how to do that. Create question, type my question, type the instructions. Under multiple choice, students can see class summary. If you don't want that summary, just uncheck that. You'll notice though, short answer had a couple of other options. This was default. Students can reply to each other. Just remember that. I usually pull that because my questions are for me and I don't want to start a conversation necessarily, but I could. It might be an intriguing question. Why do you think that character did what she did. Students replying to each other might generate a really interesting conversation within Google Classroom. This is not a default turn on, or this is not turned on by default, I should say. Students can edit their answer. That is up to you, but they would have the opportunity to pop back into the assignment, tap on it again, and edit. I taught fourth grade for many, many years, and that's not something I would necessarily want my students to be able to do. I know what would happen. We'd have a lot of copycats. All right. So now we have gone through the question assignment, saw a couple samples. We saw a student view of a question assignment, student view of answering a question assignment in 2 ways. And we've also seen what it looks like when we start seeing answers to these things. I'm going to now scroll down from the bottom. I'm in my view, and I'm going to go to a Flipgrid assignment. We'll get back up to the other things. In a quick commercial, a Flipgrid assignment simply means that you are going to post a link to Flipgrid in your classroom. So a Flipgrid assignment would require going to the word assignment and either entering the Flipgrid code that you've copied from your account as a link, or going into your Flipgrid account and integrating it. We'll get into some other things in just a minute, but if I go into this Flipgrid account, which you may or may not have used, I would look forward to doing a Flipgrid training sometime. I can, once I've created a prompt for my students, share with true integration. Anytime you have a product that has a share to Google Classroom, that is something that has a true integration. By tapping on this, it will allow me to choose my classroom and the type of assignment. I'm going to do this in a demo class. Choose my classroom, choose whether I want them to have this as a true assignment. I want them to read a poem they wrote. I want them, they're going to be getting a score. I can choose whatever kind of post I want it to be. And then it will result in this. So it will, this I did as a true integration from Flipgrid into here. But again, you could just pull the link from Flipgrid by copying that and posting it as an assignment with a link. So Flipgrid is a fun option. I'd like to include, have a full webinar one day on just Flipgrid. It must just show up the same way. Exit Flipgrid and go back up to some assignments. At the top here, we have some writing assignments. You're going to have your students doing a lot of different kinds of writing. And the writing assignments can be posted in a couple of different ways. You'll see I have the same assignment posted 2 different ways here. So first, these are just assignments. So that means it's very flexible. I want my students to write. So here, let me open this in Teacher View and click on View Assignment so I can see everything. In a Google Doc, and these directions are pretty precise because I want to make sure my students don't have questions that I won't be able to contact them to answer. In a Google Doc, type a letter to yourself. I tell them what I expect, 2 paragraphs, 10 years in the future, what will you ask yourself, what will you want to remind yourself, what's the content here? I tell them they'll need to create a new Google Doc, see the column on the right. Remember, I told you, always direct kids to look to the right, at least at the beginning of the year. Eventually, they'll pick that up. Remember to click Turn In twice. Again, that can't be overstated. Let's see what the students see. Let's get one of our newer students over here and see if we can't find that assignment and what it looks like for him or her. They're getting a tour. It was Dear Future Me. Tap that. View Assignment. Again, they're getting a tour. Same directions in a Google Doc. Type a letter to yourself. Look to the right. You'll need to create a new Google Doc. You need to create a new Google Doc. Well, they're not marking it as done, so it must be this button. You could say tap plus add or create if you wish to. Now they've tapped something, they're going to go down to create a new doc. Again, if you want to tell them to click on add or create, you may do that. If I tap Docs, it's going to immediately create a Google Doc for this student. It's going to name the doc for the student. I don't like this tour. It puts the student's name at the front with a hyphen and then the name of the assignment. Tapping on that will open up a blank sheet of paper in Google Docs. This student's getting a tour because I think this student's a kindergartner, am I right? So now the student is simply here typing away. You guys don't want me spending time on that. When the student is done, the directions said to hit turn in twice. So let's assume this is done. And the turn in button is in the upper right inside Google Docs. And then there'll be another pop-up here for the second turn in. You'll see an unsubmit button. What if Hannah forgot something, wanted to change it? She can do this until the teacher scores and returns her paper. So she can open it. I'm sorry, she can unsubmit it. And then she can tap on it and continue writing and turn in again. If she's not done, she can just tap cancel. The changes are all still there. She can choose to turn it in any day she wants to. She can turn it in 5 minutes from now after she's talked to her mom, or she can go back into it and work it until it's turned in. It's not considered turned in. The teacher will not see this. I'm going to go ahead and turn it in for her. Now let's see what it looks like on the teacher end. We've had a few students do this assignment, and I am in my teacher's view. No, I'm not. Now I'm in my teacher's view, tapping on student work up here at the top, and I get a little thumbnail of every single student's work. So there are a few kids that says turned in, turned in, turned in, turned in. I can see the name of their assignment, first name, last name, and then hyphen and the name of the assignment itself. I can see that 4 have turned it in, but 1 student has not turned anything in. I can see who that is right away. Or if I tap on this, it's hyperlinked, it'll just show me him. Back to those who have turned theirs in. And if I want to see their work, grade their work, comment on their work, let's see what we can do. Let's tap on this one. The assignment opens in Google Docs. This is where the work was done in the first place. Obviously, she didn't do 2 paragraphs and whatnot, but that's not how I wanted to spend my time this morning getting things ready for you. As I read her work, I may have comments for it. I may want to come over here and make a private comment, but no score. So I could say, please write more, nice start. What about a couple of other things? And if I post that to her, remember what her settings are. Anything I post, private comments that are posted, she will get an email. Now, I know that our K through 3rds do not have email. We'll have to talk about that towards the end. I don't want to keep readdressing that. But if I post it, she will see her private comments. Let's see, I do not have her account open, but her private comment would appear right about here in a student view. So if she gets a little email saying there's a private comment, she taps on it and sees it there. She can respond to those private comments as well, and we could have a small conversation right here. If we're ready to go ahead and give her a score, I can go ahead and provide her score right here, whatever points it had, so points out of points. I can change the total points if I made a mistake in the first place. I can also do that on my home page. I don't need to do that today, though, because we're scoring on a rubric. But now I need to make a choice. Am I going to return this one child's paper to her and be done? Or am I going to go through and check out other kids' work? Here's a second student that I need to look at. And I can say, great job. And she's going to go ahead and get a 3 on that. But still, I don't like the idea of returning work until I've gotten everybody's done. So let's see if I can go back and Let's see, this one's not scored. That's pretty okay. Nice start. No comment, not going to return it. I can use these arrows or this little drop down to complete my scoring, grading. What if I want to give additional feedback? So I can add a comment. Up here in the menu, you've seen this if you've used Google Docs before. I can highlight a word, add comment, and it'll open up over here assigning this comment to that word. I can do that and ask my student to please use academic language. Over here, see comments on your doc, and just post that. When she gets her email saying that her teacher has sent her, see the comments on the doc, the student comes back into Google Classroom, opens the assignment, and sees a little speech bubble right here and opens up the comment. So that's another way to give feedback. So you have feedback here, and you have feedback in the document itself. Again, I'm not going to return just one. Let's see what my choices are, because there is an arrow. I can return just this one. I can return multiple ones, or I cannot return anything at all. Close the tab, return to this page, and wait until this person turns in his work before I return to everybody. Just waiting for this one. Or, of course, I can provide him with a score that indicates he didn't do any work, right? All right. Remember the checks that you saw earlier? If I return now, this one gets no score. Those 3 get a score. And look, I forgot that one. So maybe I won't return those right now. Okay. Remember we assigned this in 2 different ways? Let me show you briefly what it looks like the other way. All I did here was ask them to create a new Google Doc. At this time, I've got a different way to assign the exact same assignment. I'm going to view assignment and look at the instructions. And in a Google Doc, type a letter to yourself. This is all the same up here. I let my students know that there's already a page started for you. Tap on the file in the column on the right. It has your name on it. When it opens, move your cursor to where your first word should appear. Well, let's go ahead and be a student and do this assignment. I'm a student. I've got my student hat on. Classwork. Dear future me with a file attached. View assignment. A page started for you. Tap on the file in the column to the right. Here's the column to the right. Here is the assignment with the name attached to it. It says when it opens, tap on it. When it opens, move your cursor to where your first word should appear. Because right now my cursor is right here. My youngest students will probably start typing right there. But if I want to start typing down here, I click my cursor down there and say, you had such an awesome time in Mrs. James' class. All right. And now he's done. He does what? He hits turn in twice. Or if he's not done, he can just close the tab and return to this later. Everything is a live save. There's no save button. The only buttons you have to use, all students are going to use, is turn in. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that in so we can see. How many times do we click turn in? Click turn in twice. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to remove myself from the student account again. I'm back. I have my teacher's hat on. I am in a teacher account right now. I'm going to look at student work. And is this the one we were looking at? Let's make sure we're in the same one with the file attached to it. Yes, file attached. View assignment. Our boy turned it in right here. There's the one that just turned it in. There we go. And as a teacher, I can begin going through and scoring these. They're all turned in. Nothing has been scored. I can sort them differently. I can use these arrows to go through them. I can make comments. on the document using this little add comment. I can make private comments that are not on the paper over here, provide the scores over here, and students are going to get a notification about this and this if I've returned it. This, yes, and this if I've returned it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that and return to my classwork page. This is really difficult in a webinar to not stop and answer questions, but I know I have to do that. While we're talking about writing and assignments, I had a question from last week's forums, and it said, what about rubrics? Can we attach rubrics? And you may have seen when we went to create an assignment that there was a little rubric button right here. If you're interested in attaching rubrics, you actually need to write or prepare the rubric on your own. So it just says plus rubric. After giving a title and directions, that button becomes enabled and you can prepare a rubric. Once you have an assignment with a rubric attached, you may reuse that rubric. So let me show you. I did a quick one right here. You can see that there is a rubric attached. I'm going to go ahead and view the assignment so I can show you what the rubric looks like. This rubric is called the CVUSD Elementary Standards Based Rubric. This is for grade 1. I probably should have added what the standard was here. And it's not a perfect rubric, but if you've been communicating with your kids using rubrics, you may choose to build yours and put them in there. At this time, it's not something that can be shared between teachers. I will check to see if you're a co-teacher. Can co-teachers share rubrics? And I think that's possible. So if your first grade team decides to compose or write out the rubrics, you may share them once you guys are co-teachers in each other's account. But I will tell you that if I were to delete this one assignment that has this one rubric on it, this rubric is gone. So if you're going to build rubrics and you want them present in here, make sure you put them in maybe a master classroom so that you don't accidentally delete them as you're cleaning things out at some point. Somebody asked about that, so I want to make sure we covered that. I'm going to return to classwork and slide down to right down here, photo walk. Now, notice right here next to photo walk in math, that looks like an assignment again. So if I tap on that, is it an assignment that I made using create assignment up here? Yes, it is. Just want to point that out. Let me go ahead and view it and look at the instructions. In this one, I'm not asking my kids to type a document. I'm not attaching a document for my kids to type on either. In this particular one, I'm having my students take a photo of something in their home, something on a walk that they take, some sort of indicator that they know what a cylinder is. So we've been talking about three-dimensional shapes. What is a cylinder? And here are their instructions. Take a photo or video in whichever way is best for you. Most students will probably use their parent's smartphone. They might use their Chromebook. The Chromebooks that the district has issued has cameras on them. They may have their own phone or smart device or tablet that they can take photos with. You cannot possibly predict the many, many ways in which a student is going to take a photo, but you can give them the direction to make sure the photo is either on their computer, in their Google Drive, or in their Photos app. They're going to have to find a way to get it there. A lot of people will simply email the photo to themselves and download it onto their computer or save it in their Google Drive. We have to give them some credit. I think that they're figuring a lot of things out on their own. But if you have 30 kids or 160 kids, you can't possibly predict every single step for every single way that they will use the various devices. Once they have a file on their computer or in their Google Drive, they can simply attach, or their Photos app, they can simply attach it. And I'll demonstrate how a student does that. Let's read the directions some more. To submit your assignment, Look to the right column, of course, in your full view assignment view. We're going to do this as a student in a minute. Tap on Add or Create, and you will see a drop-down menu. Choose File for anything on your device, or choose Google Drive for anything in your district Google Drive. Locate the file and select Add. Then you may turn in, and remember you need to select Turn In twice. So let's be a student. Let's see if I can bring over a student. Now I'm wearing my student hat. And let's go back and look at this assignment as a student. And it was in math, photo walk, finding cylinders. You want to get the kids in the habit of viewing the assignment so that the whole page is the assignment. That's how you get to the right column. The directions said look to the right column in the full view. Tap on Add or Create. Now this student has already taken a photo, and he has got a photo on his computer. It was on his mom's phone, and his mom opened it in her email and then just downloaded it onto this device. If the kid then goes and follows directions, he can go to File, and he's going to be uploading. Just upload and browse. That, remember from last Tuesday, opens up your Windows Explorer. Depending on where he saved it, he's going to need to find that photo. Now, I know it's not good policy, but I do save a lot of things on my desktop. So I assume a lot of other people do, because I've seen your computers, guys. And let's see if I can find that picture and where we saved it. There we go. There's that picture. Open. It's coming up. There's the image file. It's loading. And now he has followed all directions. He can even see a little tiny version of his picture. He's going to hit Turn In twice. So there's Turn In and there's Turn In. Again, if he looks at that and goes, ooh, I hope I don't get busted because there's a handle on the edge, he can unsubmit and submit a new photo. But I think he's done a pretty good job here. So I'm going to move out of the student view and into the teacher view, making sure I am in that proper assignment. Yep, there it is. I'm going to view my assignment, and I can see the little thumbnails here of my students' photos that they've turned in. And I almost don't even have to go in them to see who's done a good job and who needs to learn more about cylinders. But if I want to go ahead and open them, I just click on them, and it calls it up. It's opening it in Cami. Don't convert it. Okay, fine, convert it. We'll see what happens here. It makes me nervous. There we go. All right, this is really big. It's clearly a cylinder. It's a candle, but let's pretend like it's way too big. This is a high resolution picture that takes up way too much space. Right here in the upper right-hand corner, I can actually just reduce the size so I can see it properly. Fantastic. Because it opened in Cami, there's two things I can do now. Instead of giving a private comment here if I feel like it, or a score here if I'm ready to, I can also provide a little feedback over here because it's been saved. So I'm going to go ahead and text right here, right there. Let's make it much larger. Sorry, much larger. And just say, great. A candle, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now I'm done with this. I'm going to go ahead and give it a score. It's going to get 100 over here. I'm not returning it to them. I'm just saving and not returned. Okay. I can continue with all of the other assignments. Remember, just like with our written documents in Docs, it's providing me with this sort of L-shaped angle where I can go through everyone's assignments, or I can go through and provide information here. Or I can use these little arrows. So anyway, I wanted you to see that. You go back and just close that. If I really feel like I don't have to go into each one and provide feedback, I really can just score them from here. This one right here, Lucas, that is a really nice coffee mug. And then Madeline, that is interesting. That is a roll of tape, but technically, you know what that is? A cylinder, isn't it? It's just not very tall. Good imagination, hon. And now I'm not going to return until I've gotten scores from absolutely everybody. So that's how somebody will turn in a file of any type from their computer. You might have gotten a video. It would be turned in the exact same way. You might have gotten oh gosh, what else could they have turned in? Photos and videos are pretty cool. What if they, well, you know what? I'm gonna ask questions. All right, so returning work to students is as simple as clicking that return button, except sometimes in quiz assignments. I'm gonna pop open my student view of a quiz assignment. Now, quiz assignment is different than a question. A question is just one question. A quiz assignment actually opens up a Google quiz. I'm sorry, a Google form. So as a student, I have my student hat on. I'm going to view assignment, tap on the quiz and answer the questions. You may do your work on scratch paper. There's nothing to click on the right side. This is maybe the only exception though. Tap on the quiz and it said it was a quiz. Word problems week 1. I have 17 puppies running around my backyard. I know the answer. I'm going to provide my softball team. By the way, these, we've already had a training on this once, but I can do it again. These are multiple choice. 1 point, 1 point. The circles represent multiple choice, which means there is one correct answer. When I go to this third question, those circles just turned into squares. I'm a student. I've done this a couple of times. I might know that I need to choose more than one in order to get full credit. It does say choose all the numbers right there. It's worth 3 points. So a student's reading this should have pretty explicit directions the first few times until they get used to it. Maybe all the time. I'm going to choose 3, 17, 29. And this one here is a question in which they answer with a specific time. Yesterday at 10, I ate a big breakfast. I was not hungry for lunch. My usual dinner is at 7. My tummy growled 1 hour before dinner time. Okay. And don't forget to change that. All right. So I'm a student. I finished my little quiz. I'm going to submit. And the default is to allow students to see their score. We went through this in our Google Forms training, and I'm not going to belabor the point, but I do feel it's important if you're going to let kids see the score that you add a comment saying this is not your final score, not necessarily your final score, because you will always want to check and see what they did. So this is a student. He's going to see his score. He's going to be able to, with all the defaults set in Google Forms, he is going to see that he got that one correct. Here's my feedback. What a fun day with 10 puppies. He got this one incorrect. There is no feedback on that one. He got this one correct, correct, and correct. If he had gotten only 2 of them correct, it would give him 0 points, but I would be able to go in there and fix it, as we discussed last Thursday. And then this is, it marked it wrong. We're going to have to find out exactly why. I will. All right, I'm going to close out. I'm a student. I'm closing out this assignment. My teacher said that is not my final score, so I'm not going to freak out. I am now, as a teacher, going to look and see what my students did on this assignment. Word problems for math. View the assignment. I can see that 4 of my students have turned it in and 1 has not. I can see the button that says import grades, but I won't click that until I'm sure the grades, the scores that they've got here indicate how well they did. And I'm not sure of that at all. I'm never sure of that at all. Okay. If I tap this, it's going to take me into just the quiz itself. It's not going to give me their responses. So that's not much help. I actually need to open this from my Google Drive. Oh my, look at the time, it's 1:57. I'm going to open this from here. It was called Word Problems in Math. So I will search for Word Problems in Math. Here it is right here. It's purple because that indicates our Google Forms. And here is where I can see the responses. And again, we had this training last Thursday, so I will not go on and on, except to remind you that when you tap on this, you do have the option of going in and fixing people's questions. I have 17 puppies. Let's go in by individual. So I had this one, incorrect, incorrect. If this person had answered 2 out of the 3 correctly, I could just go in here and fix that. That's what I'm talking about. And this is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and give him that 1 point. Okay. Everything is a live save. If I ever see a save button, I'm going to tap on it. But everything is generally a live save. I can go in through each person's and just double check that they answered properly. Again, we talked quite a bit about this on Thursday. All right, let me go back to this, and let's assume I went through and checked everybody's work and I'm happy with the way their scores came in. They seemed appropriate. I'm going to now tap on import grades. Are you sure you want to import grades? It'll overwrite the current grades. So if you did it once and you need to do it again, you may. Import. Again, I'm not returning them yet. Once I return them, it's permanent. If I say, oh, shoot, I forgot I have one child, this one who didn't finish, I'm going to go back in, look at her scores, and then import the grades again. It will overwrite that until I return. Once I return their papers, I can't go in and change those scores. All right? So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to return them. All right, I'm going to look at my outline, and I know we don't really have much time left, but we did show feedback and scores, different ways to provide feedback, CAMI feedback, as well as feedback in the columns. We talked about several different kinds of assignments, saw student view, discussed how important it was and is to be explicit in our instructions. The bringing your scores in to Aries gradebook from Google is a brief video that I will not play for you right here. That would not be a good use of our time. But this video is made by somebody else in another district, and it's just so good because it's only 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and their experience is almost exactly what ours is. You need to create the assignment in Aries gradebook, and then pull the assignments from the, well, you know what? You're going to see it anyway, guys. Make it an Aries gradebook, and then you are in the assignments area right here. So enter scores by assignment, and this button right here where it says import from Google will appear. If your import from Google is not there, it means a couple of things. Most commonly, it simply means you've not returned the work to the students. You have to return their work before you can enter their scores, before you can import their scores. And so the system will not provide you with that button until you've returned work. But again, it's a 3-minute video. I'll let you watch that on your own. Let's see, I told you we wouldn't have time to go through organization of files in Google Drive. So I will not. I will only do this. I will point out to you that if you are looking at your Google Drive, this is your district Google Drive that you get to via ClassLink right here, Google Drive, home page of Google Drive. If you scroll down, you're going to see that there is a folder called Classroom. I'm just doing this so quickly, I apologize. I can do it again another day. But from Classroom, if I click that, it gives me a folder for every single classroom I have ever created or been a co-teacher in, every single one. And inside each of these folders, this is generally what we call integration, true integration, then inside each of these folders should be what? That's right. It should be the assignments that I've issued. These are all the assignments. These are materials. If it's true integration, what should I see inside each of these assignment folders? Absolutely. You should see the student responses. This is going to be handy when next May we have open house and you want to print something when you were distance teaching in September. This is where you're going to find them. You can also find, it's important to understand the organization. If you see this thread, you went from your drive into the classroom folder, into the name of a classroom, into the assignment. There's one other way to get there. Under classwork, at the top of the page, class drive folder. Okay, gang, I'm going to stop sharing. I've been talking too long and we're a little bit over time and I could just go on forever. It is so hard to not have feedback and know that there are people who are fingertips on the keyboard with Google Classroom for the first time and others who have been doing it for a couple of years. So I hope everybody felt like this was Halloween candy, that you could find something in there that tastes good for you and something else that when you run out of the best stuff, you can go back in and pick something else out. So from peanut butter M&Ms and then your second choice is Reese's Pieces. Yeah, I hope you found something in here that works for you. As a courtesy, I know I'm over time, but as a courtesy, I do have always allowed you guys to ask questions at the end. And I know people are leaving. Bye, bye, bye. I love you so much. Tomorrow is going to be engaging students with activities during that non-teachy time, that let's work on a project, let's collaborate, lots and lots of ideas coming for that. I'm going to post the agenda for that ahead of time so you know what to expect. And now I'm going to take mute. I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and feel free to take yourself off mute. I'm not going to call on you. Just 4 minutes of whoever talks first gets in, okay?
So I have a question then. This is Janice.
Hi, Janet.
Hi. So I teach junior high, and what I'd like to do is on one day record my lesson and then assign it for the next day's kids to watch for homework.
Excellent. That's
so
great.
When I record it like we're doing right now, then how do I put it into Google Classroom as an assignment?
You would do exactly that. You would create an assignment and make the due date and time, the time that you need them to have completed watching it. And then you would simply add the link to your recording to the assignment. The link.
Where do I find the link?
Well, tell me how you're recording your lesson. Are you recording it right here in, you said you're going to record it on Monday to give it to the other set of students? Is that what you're saying?
Right. So when I have my Monday class and I give the lesson, I record on that spotlight view so that no kids are showing. Then I want that to be homework for my next day's kids so they can, in having watched that, so we can do the assignment.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to refer you back to your Google Drive. I'm going to present my screen really quickly so you can see mine. But in your Google Drive, remember how we got to Google Drive from ClassLink? Here's your Google Drive. And then go from your Google, from there, you are, this is your home page. Instead of going to Classroom, you're going to find your Meet recordings down here in a folder that's automatically made for you the very first time you record a Google Meet. So these are Meet recordings that you have been in charge of. And as a teacher in that classroom, you are in charge of the recordings that come out of that classroom. You're the one who's doing the recording and it ends up in here. It gives the code for the meeting itself, but I usually just look at the date, right? I just go over here and look for the date. That's where you're going to find your recording. To get a link to it, let's say this one right here is the one I want to link for. I'm going to right click that. I'm going to go down to Get Shareable Link. And then I'm going to make sure it's not restricted. I want everybody who's got the link to see the link. So I'm going to go anyone with a link. Copy that link, and now that link is on my virtual clipboard, and I can just include it in my assignment. Does that make sense? Remember, assign, add, link. Okay?
Can you change the grade once you import it to Aries? Can you override the grade and change it?
Can you change? Oh, yeah, once you've imported into Aries, you can definitely go into Aries and change scores till the cows come home. Yeah, you can absolutely.
Thank you.
You can't change it from, and let me clarify this. You can't change it in Google Classroom expecting Aries to know that you did that. So
Right.
the integration between, because we've been asked this before, the integration between Google Classroom and Aries is temporary, just while you're clicking the buttons to move it over. It doesn't retain that relationship.
So
you have to
when
just, you
get
just go to
close
Aries.
report card time, if you've noticed a student's done above and beyond in other areas, you can pump up something.
Absolutely. That joining of Google Classroom and Aries is temporary during the 45 seconds to a minute that it takes those scores to move over.
Thank
Is
you.
the only time they're talking. You bet, Anita. It's a great
Kim.
question. I'm glad you brought it up. Yes.
When you record, will the kids' pictures or their names show up? Because we're not allowed to post.
That's correct. So you'll want to be careful about how you're recording. For example, I'm recording right now and I can see your faces. That would not be what you want to do with your students. You would want to keep it as share your screen the entire time. Only record while you're sharing your screen. Okay?
You
So that
can.
way you know. And you can always edit, but editing is something we can talk about another time in another with another tool, because if you accidentally get kids at the end or the beginning and you want to trim that, I can recommend something for that, but it would take more than just a few words right now. But Mary, I'll make sure that I share it with everybody and I tag you. Edit Google Meet.
My question, Kim, was can we mute the students ourselves? So if they want to ask a question or they cough or something in the middle of our recording, their name does not show up.
Yeah, not yet. You can't. Well, when the new controls come with the autumn update, you will be able to mute all of them and retain that control. They won't be able to take themselves off.
Sorry, when we return work or a quiz or whatever to students, they can see all of it, right? So if little Freddie has not turned in his assignment yet, then one of their friends could send them a picture of their work.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have,
That's another good reason to wait.
Once it's returned, it's copyable. Okay.
Right, exactly. Somebody else had chimed in.
It's Diane. Can you
Hi,
tell
Diane.
me, is it easy to color code student assignments? You'd mentioned that if you had one group of kids, you wanted them to do a particular assignment, they could pick maybe the red assignments.
No, I think if you wanted to differentiate, because I know what you're teaching, when you differentiate, you can simply assign it to small groups of students. We're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow when we're doing engagement practices, when we want to have certain groups of kids collaborating on a document. Maybe we have 5 kids, we want them working on one Google slide project, and we want a different group of 5 working on a different Google Slides project. We'll be able to talk about that tomorrow, but it's not color coding. It has to do with how you assign it to begin with.
Right, I know how to do that. Okay, thank you so much.
Great. Okay, 60 seconds, guys. I'm counting down.
Okay, so I created a mock practice classroom, and I had a teacher. I added her as a student, and she did a key assignment, but I don't see it. So is that just like an issue? Maybe I need one-on-one help with. We also did a Google slide. And I can't see it either.
Okay, so you cut out just a little bit. I got that you did the room, and she joined as a student, and she did a
Cami assignment and a Google Slides assignment, but I can't see it on my end.
Okay, do you think she hit turn in twice? That's always the first question I ask.
It says turned in on my end.
Okay, but you can't see it. So you know what? Give me a ring after we're done here, and we'll just do a quick share. And
can I add you as a teacher?
No, just give me literally just. Is this Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, just literally send me an email in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, that's just, and then we'll share a screen or something. Okay, got like 22 seconds. Anybody else? Okay, oh, go ahead, Kathleen.
Sorry, if we have an ongoing assignment, okay, like each week they're reading 2 chapters, and I've created